times mothers lash out on paternity court.
He was still with me when I had that ultrasound done. Because I cried and I begged God to give me a sign. And 2 hours later, I got that. So that's why I'm mainly upset. You were there for the 25 minutes of pleasure. Well, it's been 9 months. It's been 9 months and I bought every diaper.
Losing the love of your life and this whole family denying your child is hard to endure. That's what Miss Cameron wants to end this dispute of 3 years ago. But the baby boy's auntie was persistent that her late brother didn't father baby Malachi, and the mommy was only after their money.
Just the whole situation of losing my brother as well. We lost him, and just the whole situation of her getting pregnant, it just doesn't add up.
You don't think this child is his?
I don't think it's his. She already receives the benefits for one child, and the other one, with the dates not adding up, I just feel that she's just not trying to work.
Baby mama apparently met the deceased when she was 19, and from that point, they were attached to the hip. It was love at first sight for these lovebirds, so much so that they got pregnant within a couple of months of meeting each other.
Like, he does look like me, because I guess I got strong genes, but he looks like Jackie.
So you have an older child together?
Yes.
And then you planned for the next one?
Yes. I wanted someone for my other child to play with. So I went and talked to Mr. Rathert, so he was like, okay, we can go ahead and try, just let's keep it under wraps.
Even though we found the whole tale a treat, Miss Melvin didn't believe one word coming out of the plaintiff's mouth. According to her, she had strong reasons to suspect Miss Cameron had not been entirely faithful in her relationship with her brother. Let's hear her reasons for it, shall we?
He had came to me it was a month before we found out she was pregnant and said that she had gave him an STD, and I work at an urgent care and I see a lot of stuff, so he told me. I said, are you sure he was like, man, I haven't done anything. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, go up there and get tested, take her to get tested, and he said they both got treated.
Apparently, Miss Cameron and Mr. Rathert planned a baby and they got pregnant. But before they could give this news to the family, poor Mr. Rathert passed away. That's tragic indeed. The deceased sister brought out the conception calendar to further substantiate her claim that the dates just don't match up, and she ended up having an interesting conversation with her brother.
I stopped taking my birth control on January 16th because we talked about it on the 14th. And that very next night is when I got pregnant. My son was born on October 17th. If you added that up, I would have got pregnant on January 17th. Maybe the dates was off, I don't know.
That's a huge discrepancy.
Now, the calendar told one story while the baby mama believed another one. She told the court the dates she believed were true, but they certainly didn't add up. Not good for her, as Judge Lake didn't believe in discrepancies.
There's another incident that was about a couple weeks before of her getting pregnant. She was creeping around the corner to get to a car which was with another man.
I was in love with Jackie. I would have never cheated on Jackie.
Next up, Miss Cameron came up with an ultrasound picture that she believed had the deceased face in the eyeball of the baby. Yep, you can't make this stuff up. While she believed it was a sign from the baby daddy, the defendant still didn't budge. See for yourselves.
I have an ultrasound picture right here. I know this might sound crazy, but I posted it on Facebook, and then people started commenting oh, there's somebody in the eyeball. I'm like, no, there's no way. I zoomed it in, and there is somebody. And I believe with all my heart that is a sign from Jackie saying that he was still with me when I had that ultrasound done.
Miss Melvin came forward with her evidence that had a statement from her mother. The mother couldn't join, but her statement was enlightening enough. According to that, she was positive that Miss Cameron cheated on her son, as she evidently saw him going on a date with someone. Yikes!
That did happen, and I told Mr. Rathert that I went out with him because I felt guilty. Even though nothing happened between me and him, I was looking for comfort because I was by myself at that time because that happened right after he went MIA somewhere, wherever he was at. Yes, it was a guy. I have a lot of guy friends.
The judge had heard enough of their testimonies, evidence, and witnesses. In this court, the only thing that holds factual value is the DNA result. Let's put all these guys and baby Malachi out of their misery and see the result.
It has been determined by this court, Miss Duhamel is related to Malachi
Thank
Rather.
Jesus. Thank you. Now, do you believe me?
I guess.
I was being honest with you.
Miss Cameron,
Yes.
it feels good to just finally have it.
Yes, it does.
Miss Anthony believed the defendant fathered her child, and he was obviously denying the paternity. Unshocking! However, baby daddy claimed the plaintiff pinned this baby on him after he took a certain step that definitely didn't involve her.
What has Mr. Pouchot done for your child?
Nothing, not a diapers, not wipes, not formula,
That's
not
only
anything.
because she told me that the child wasn't
I'm getting to
mine.
that. I did tell him that the child was not his, but he was partying and I was partying too, but once I found out I was pregnant, I put all those things aside.
Given the fact that Mr. Porkai didn't believe he was the biological father, it's safe to assume he wouldn't have stepped up to the role at all. Baby mama obviously didn't like that very much and told the court all the injustices he caused her, which was mostly her own doing.
Did you tell him he was the father at first or that he
Yes,
wasn't?
he was there when I took the pregnancy test.
But
Your
she
Honor.
told me that I wasn't the father. Her ex-boyfriend was the father, that she was pregnant before she met me.
And now you say he's denying the baby.
Yes, ma'am, I did, and I understand that was me being in the wrong. That was 100%. Most of this is my fault.
So these guys had a party relationship where they both just partied up. They obviously threw caution to the wind. To heck with the consequences, right? But now reality was that there was a living, breathing baby. And so the pregnancy news didn't sit too well with the supposed baby daddy.
But
I laid
she
down
told
and
me
I
that-
thought about it. This man ain't gonna do nothing but party. This man ain't gonna take care of me or my child. He ain't gonna do nothing for me.
Her
So I
saying that
decided
whenever
to,
she
what I thought
came
was a
away.
good decision for my child. It was not the correct decision, and I understand that now.
And so once you felt like he was not going to stand up for the child and take care of the child, you decided to tell him he's not even the father.
Yes.
Time for the conception calendar to rise and shine. Oh yeah, April has been a good month for these guys, full of love and extracurricular activities. But both weren't on the same page regarding the conceived dates as well as the due dates. Same old he said, she said situation here, people. Nothing new.
I was trying to stay
No,
around
those
to
were
help her
before,
take
honey. Don't you
care
sit there
of
and
the
lie. That
child.
April
I offered
8th and
to
April
help
4th
her
were before. That middle one was after.
Because I met
two were
you
before.
in late March. You supposedly got pregnant early
I-
March.
No, I did not supposedly get pregnant early March. My due date was December 18th. You need to learn some math, baby. We're gonna take you back to high school.
Now, at some point, their mutually benefited party situation came to an end. As it turned out, the defendant apparently two-timed Miss Anthony, and then he went ahead and got married. Yep, heard that right. She was obviously livid after that.
He cheated on me with his spouse now. That is how that happened.
Actually,
And he begged
I
me to
cheated
stay,
on
and I
my
left.
spouse with you.
And now you're married, Mr. Pouchot.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at that baby. How you gonna deny him? Look at his nose.
I only denied him
Look at
because you
his
told me he
eyes.
wasn't mine.
I know, and I'm sorry for that. That was me. But look at
So-
him. How you telling that he don't look like you?
Finally, Mr. Porku's husband came forward and stated his case. And boy, did he share some interesting information about the baby mama. Miss Anthony believed she did what she did because of baby Matthew. But Mr. Porkeye did not buy that.
Honestly, Your Honor, I wasn't there. My husband had gone away for a couple months, called Miss Anthony. She met me down, in fact, at the very same place that they met. Got a little couple dollars off of her, whatever I needed to get from my husband. At the time, he wasn't my husband. That is the point where Miss Anthony told me to my face, the baby is not Harold's.
Now, hold on to your seats, fellas. It's about to get wild. The defendant wasn't at the hospital when the baby was born. However, there was another guy present there. Yep, according to the baby mama, this guy, though, knew he wasn't the father, but the good old Facebook said something else.
Did he think Matthew was his child?
No, ma'am. He knew the whole time that he was not the father.
That's not what he was posting on Facebook.
Yes, because we decided to not go public with it. We decided to keep it between us and the
Isn't
few family.
Facebook public?
Yes,
I mean,
it
we
is.
decided to not let
Thank you.
everyone know that he wasn't
Thank
the
you.
father.
Time for those messages that were submitted earlier to be analyzed. This was a text exchange between Mr. Porkeye's husband and Miss Anthony, and they were full of aggression. Apparently, the baby mama kept texting the defendant, and he ultimately gave the control over to his husband.
Your Honor, I did write those messages, but they were in response to 5 messages unanswered from my husband. She messaged my husband first on Facebook. Those messages were forwarded to me, and he asked me to ask her to stop. And I asked her several times nicely, please stop messaging him. And instead of stopping messaging him, she would message him and say, why do you gotta get your husband involved?
So Miss Anthony had been telling people that Mr. Harold wasn't the father, and she accepted that she indeed said that. But in doing so, the baby mama forgot another key piece of information, and the husband was all the more happy to tell the court about it. Wow!
You have openly declared to people
You're
that
right.
he may not be Harold's child. You have also declared to other people of your sexual trysts before Harold and
Trysts?
after, to include a 3-way right after your relationship with my husband.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, that did happen.
Boom.
That did happen, but that happened before and not after.
Time for this crazy ride to reach its final station, the DNA results. Baby Matthew's whole life was on the line. It was clear Mr. Porcue wanted this kid to be his, so let's find what fate had in store for them.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pouchot, you are the father. That's the first time I've seen you smile today, Mr. Pouchot.
Loss of a son, palpable grief, added up with the potential child that the deceased may have left behind, and this becomes even more devastating. That's what this plaintiff experienced when the defendant turned up with a child at his son's funeral, claiming he fathered him. Now, she wanted some answers.
He had passed away and had been buried. It was 5 months
Oh my
before I
goodness.
learned any of this. And now there's this little boy who calls me Granny. I just need to make sure that he is indeed my grandson and a piece of Darnell left here on earth for me to love.
Better grab some tissues, people. It's gonna be a teary ride. So, according to Miss Gant, she and her son were not on the best of terms for quite some time, and she had no idea that this heartbreaking tragedy had even occurred. Yep, she had no clue that fate had robbed her of a son.
Well, Darnell was the love of my life. We had a rocky relationship, but we really loved each other. And at the time, that was the only person I was sleeping with.
Their relationship was toxic because they argued a lot, they fought a lot.
Yes, Your Honor. Me and Darnell did have a rocky relationship, but we really loved each other.
Time to shed light on how Miss Bryant and the late Mr. Gant came to be. Turns out these guys didn't have a smooth relationship, and Mother Gant attested to that fact as well, along with sharing another fascinating aspect of their relationship.
So tell me what happened when you found out you were pregnant.
I found out I was pregnant. I didn't know he had passed away. During my pregnancy, I had to go through it alone because I didn't know that I would never see him again. The last time I seen Darnell is when I told him that I was pregnant, and he said he knew.
Their rocky relationship went to the point where Miss Bryant told the baby daddy she was expecting, and then he pulled a no-show. She went through that journey alone, but what she didn't know was that Mr. Gant had actually passed away. While she narrated this, Mama Gant lashed out at her with her certain grievances.
How did you find out he had passed away?
Child support had sent me a letter saying that he was deceased. So
But
I
you
called.
didn't tell me any of this.
I didn't.
I didn't know that you knew Darnell was
I
dead.
didn't. I tried to get in
But
contact
you
with
just
her daughter.
said you got
I
his
got
birth
in
certificate.
contact
So
with
you
her
knew
daughter.
he was dead before I did.
Next up, we got to hear some varied narratives from these guys. Yep, baby mama was adamant she got to know about the death through child support. However, the plaintiff wasn't too sure about that, and she shared how she got to know about it.
She already knew that he was dead. She didn't let my daughter know. She didn't let
Honor.
me know.
Wait, hold on, I want to understand this. Were you not speaking? Did you even know she was pregnant?
I
No.
didn't know she was pregnant. If she was having another child by my son, why wouldn't she let me know?
So, the defendant kept it all a secret. The million-dollar question was why? Why keep the pregnancy and even the death of the guy on the hush-hush from his family? This certainly didn't put Miss Bryant in the best of light, But still, Grandma Gant came through.
But I know without a shadow of my doubt in my heart that this is this man's son.
And I hope that
And I
he
know,
is
and
his son,
I'm not
Your
here to
Honor.
argue.
And it doesn't matter. Let me
It
say
do
this,
matter.
and
It do
actually,
matter.
you know this. I love Zion, and Zion needs a granny, and he has one.
Baby mama had been secretive, but then she rolled up with a newly born baby Zion to the Gant house and dropped this bomb on them while the family was preparing for the memorial service. Yeesh! Now that must have been something.
I didn't know Zion was born until Ashley came to the house while we were planning Darnell's memorial service. But when Ashley showed up to the house, she had this little newborn, and she told me this is Darnell's son. But when I looked at him, I didn't see Darnell.
It was clear as day all of these guys were suffering, but no more than baby Zion. And every child deserves a father. And if that isn't possible, then a family to give them that love. Time for the results to see whether Zion was related to the Gants or not.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Eleanor Gant and 4-year-old Zion Bryant is 98.6%. You are related.